Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our technical part 2 of Buffy. Today we're going to be getting into Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2, Episode 14, Innocence. Aired January 20th, 1998, the day after, as we discussed. And this one was written and directed by Joss Whedon because he had to have full control. Buffy's emotional turmoil and her sexual destruction with all his to bear. In this episode, after a passionate moment with Angel, Buffy realizes it has cost him his soul, reverting him back to his pure vampiric self and jealous. He teams up with Spike and Drusilla and the Judge in their quest for Armageddon. As Innocence shatters around them, the gang must thwart their plans while Buffy struggles with the fact that she must slay Angel. I think I said it last episode, and just so I don't have to go back and edit that one, Tyler, that joined us for Halloween, was originally supposed to be in this episode with us, but he is not feeling well, so he's out of here. Not really, but basically. So we have no actual guests. It's just me and Courtney, which is fine. But you guys would have been in for a great treat. Now you just gotta sigh.
Sorry to disappoint.
Getting in a little bit to the episode, innocence is obviously a huge theme for this episode. It seems everyone loses their innocence in it. Whedon refers to Buffy's experience as an adolescent baptism of fire, transition and the rite of passage through time. He chose to construct Buffy's sexual initiation as a 2-part episode. Surprise ends just after the act, and innocence proceeds with the consequences. He also speaks to surprise and innocence being the mission statement of the show. It is one that is mythic, and it's also the hero's journey. Buffy losing Angel and having to fight him. To me, it really is, once again, a part of the unfortunate burden Buffy has to bear as the Slayer. And this episode was labeled as the most important Buffy episode that they ever did. And I can see why. Because Buffy's life and the show will never be the same again after this. You know, we haven't even seen what's to come, truly. We've just seen what happened in this one. But it just revs it up. It's different. It's not the same context that we were in season 1. And it's definitely not the same premise and stuff that we had for season 2. And I'm pretty sure once we went right into this episode, you could agree that you didn't see any of this coming. So,
oh no,
it's pretty intense.
Yeah, no way. Very, very much so.
That being said, though, what did you think of Innocence?
Well, it was a shock for sure because, like I said, I left last time thinking that Angel was having a heart attack or something like health related and not, that there's this dooming thing attached to basically any shred of hope of happiness for himself. So it was disheartening for Angel, but it also, I guess it was good that they took his character into such an immediate turn for the worst because you almost didn't have time to sympathize for the fact that he is no longer who he was, and that you just don't have a moment to dwell on the fact that he's not allowed to be happy and how sad that really is because you instantly start hating him, So that was shocking for me because I didn't think that there would ever come a real time that I would dislike Angel, but obviously I didn't foresee him reverting back to the version of himself that he always refers to being in the past and being such a quite savage asshole, so it's just like, damn, it took me for a bit of a loop. That was super unexpected. And like you said, the whole entire episode from beginning to end is super duper intense. So you're just kind of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed it. And it was great for entertainment value. And yeah, the intensity was like top notch on this one for sure.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to not like Angel, but technically I like him more in
Obviously.
this. I mean, obviously, I also want him and Buffy to be together and it to be the
Mhm.
normal things, and we'll talk a little bit more into that later. But I think that just getting to see David's acting, which we'll also touch base on again later, just the switch that he immediately does from, that brooding, lighthearted, and nice kind of character, even though he's always trying to tell Buffy, like, what's right from wrong and being, like, the voice of reason in that way. It's the polar opposite shift that he goes into in this episode. And I like the evil and jealous arc. It just really pays off in the end. I feel like my thoughts from last episode really summed it up, because I kind of like did my opening thoughts for both Surprise and this episode in the last one in ways, because they both mirror each other in such big ways. But the one thing that I think that's like really good is just the fact that Buffy has to fight Angelus in this episode and come up against him after being completely destroyed by him emotionally. And then obviously we have the emotional problems that are also going on for like Willow with Xander after she finds out about them. And then we have the whole ordeal coming to light with Jenny. That brings in a little bit more intensity. And then how Buffy interacts with her in this episode. And then also how that like kind of outlashes with Giles, against Jenny as well. Then all leading up to Buffy basically having to pull herself semi together, I'll put it, because she's still an emotional wreck most of the episode. But she has to pull it together to step in her role as the Slayer, because that just doesn't stop. She's got to stop this problem from happening and take out the judge and stop the villainous trio, even though Spike's in the wheelchair, not, up to his antics the same way. I still classify him as that because he's in all of the stuff except going to the mall with them later. I don't know, the episode in general is just really well done, and you feel a lot of emotions across it, which is what I think I enjoy the most about it. You get true fear for everyone because we have a lot of uncertainty. We've heard so much about Angelus being a literal terror back in his day, or at least in small ways to where we can allude that he's just done countless amounts of like awful things. And that was all before he was ensouled, and now we're just getting a starter taste to what may unfold for us the rest of the season,
Yeah.
And as far as emotions go, like to touch base back on that, you just really feel for Buffy having to lose so much in this. And it's no wonder that the episode's called Innocence, because that is like just ripped away from her. She doesn't have any of that, like we talked about last episode, that childlike wonder and that like lackluster for life. Angel's not her star-crossed lover anymore. He's literally he's just her crossed lover. She's gonna kill him.
Yeah. And he's like really good at being a douchebag too under the circumstances, that I think brings it back to being so relatable and having such a problem where it's kind of like, you hook up with a dude after you've dated him for a while and you haven't slept with him, and then you finally do, and then all of a sudden he's acting different. It's weird how like you can use that in context to him actually internally changing and her not realizing that initially. So it was so kind of enlightening to see it, because I think from her standpoint, just being a teenage girl and having that moment of vulnerability too is really kind of like, that's an experience within itself. So when you aren't treated right away the way that you should be after such an intimate exchange is very eye-opening. And then to not have any like reasoning for why is also very eye-opening, but like I said, relatable. So I just love how the show continues to like mirror her two worlds as different as they are, because one is so not traditional and then the other one is so traditional, how both of the paths always kind of parallel in this way where it still brings you back to be able to relate to Buffy in spite of her being the vampire slayer and us not having a need or a duty to do as such. So I appreciate it for that always. It's really good at that. And this episode specifically for me did that a lot, a lot, a lot.
Yeah, I love more than anything that you called that shit out, like, which is kind of, I guess, obvious to see if you're really paying attention, because most people, and that's exactly what the show was doing, was playing on the trope of the boyfriend going bad or like just changing in his character after he gets what he wants. And obviously this has to put its spin on it for the supernatural realm and all of that. That it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And then with the fact of innocence, like we keep saying, when Buffy actually is vulnerable, like you said, and gives her innocence to Angel in a sense, it's taken with Angel, because then Angel's gone. And it's just like this monster left behind. And then he's there to destroy everybody else. So he's like,
yeah, it's kind of sad.
It is very sad. Well, I'm ready to be more sad. So previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Buffy's having dreams about Drusilla being alive and killing Angel. We learn the legend and lore of the judge after Drusilla and Spike bring his body parts to be reassembled to Sunnydale. and succeed in doing so. Buffy and Angel make love, and afterward, Angel awakens in a visual distress, leaving Buffy in the bed alone. That was the best way I could put it, because I noticed it like leaves it off on Buffy in the bed. It doesn't even shoot outside or anything like that. It was like,
I know, yeah, you don't even know what you fully expect him to almost be kind of laying there in outside, like in the street or in the alleyway, wherever the fuck he is, you know, like I was like, is she gonna run outside and he's gonna be there laying there in the
nope.
street?
We open in the factory. The judge knelt to the ground as Spike and Drew speak on the Slayer's attack. Him worried about them knowing about the judge and their location, suggesting that they got to get out of Dodge. Drusilla telling him that they won't dare come back around there. They're finding her Angel is too smart to face the judge again. Him wondering what Big Blue is up to over there anyway. The judge shitting, I am preparing. Spike saying that looks a whole lot like sitting on your ass too. I like that little quote. Questioning when will they destroy the world already, because obviously Spike's antsy. He just wants the Slayer fucking gone. He's like, hack it and take her out. Now you're here. You're supposed to be doing it already. He's like, you didn't put your hand on her quick enough last episode. Now this bitch is gone. But the judge is like, my strength is growing. As Drusilla looks up to the sky, having a vision and curling to the floor in worry. She is calling out Angel's name as well and feeling his pain, apparently. And Spike's just like, what the fuck is going on? And asking, you know, what is it that she sees? Because obviously this bitch is having some kind of vision. And a wicked grin appears on her face. And she just smiles, like, because it's like she's distorted in pain at first. And then all of a sudden, it just looks more pleasurable to her, which is interesting. Because I'm like, did Drusilla see everything? She just sense Angelus was back, or like exactly what the case is? Because obviously he comes in the room later. And they're kind of like, what the fuck are you doing here? At least Spike is anyways. But Drusilla's kind of quiet, I think, in that scene. So I don't know if she already knows that she be knowing that he knows that she knows, you know? Over in Angel's apartment, Buffy wakes up alone in his bed, realizing that he's not there, sitting up and calling out his name. Outside, we see Angel collapsed, still on the ground. The fucking rain has calmed down, by the way. Like, it's not pouring out there anymore. Saying, oh no, as he bows his head to the ground. And it's interesting because I think he's like taking notice to what's kind of happening. And this is the last little glimpse that we feel and see of Angel. A hooker nearby, I say hooker because she is labeled as a prostitute in the fucking script, smoking a Camel Crush, sees him on the ground and walks off cigarette to the or Camel Crush, because that was our steak of choice. She sees him on the ground and she walks over asking if he's okay. She's like, should I call 911? And he gets up to his feet and his back is still turned to her. And he's like, no, the pain is gone. And she asks if he's sure as she takes a drag of her cig. And he assures, yeah. Then turning around in vamp face just as she swallows that smoke to grab her, biting her in the neck, draining her of her blood, killing her, dropping her to the ground as he blows the smoke he got from her neck out of his own mouth, saying,
I feel just fine.
We fade to black and we cue the Buffy theme. Meow, 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 meow. I love the fact that we get this like whoa moment, but also just like this moment. I know I said it when we were there because we both noticed it. I think we talked about it after the fact, where like the smoke blow from him like taking, you know, in from her throat.
I love
Super
that.
cool, but it's a parallel to like the after sex cigarette that you have. Like, so he just had sex with Buffy,
Oh,
so he's having his
shit.
first smoke, but also just like we had with the ugly man in Nightmares when the girl goes down to get a cigarette. Most times in this show, they usually portray a bad guy smoking a cigarette because technically smoking is bad for you. And usually in movies and film and representation, you see a bad person being the one to smoke cigarettes half the time. This is the moment where you're like, wait, what? So talk about your experience with this whole fucking sequence in this opening.
Well, I realized quickly what was happening, I think, or I started to anyway. And I don't think that I put together the curse connection yet, but obviously the very quick change in Angel was super obvious because we don't just see him, you know, having a feast in the middle of the street and to see just his nature, his whole stature was different as a character. He did really well as an actor, like you said earlier, kind of transitioning from such a more lighthearted space into an extremely dark character. So I instantly knew that we were in trouble. But I instantly also started fearing for Buffy, obviously, because like I said, I think like last episode and the episode prior, that there's this level of unfairness that I hate in these episodes, or really in any like entertainment, media, movie, show, whatever, where someone unsuspecting, especially someone that you trust and love, becomes suddenly someone that isn't who they usually are, whether they're like possessed by something or under the influence of something, or in this case, they're cursed and have reverted back to an old way of being. It's just, it made me instantly worry for Buffy because I didn't know if he was going to or like run into her, or I didn't know if the next time that they saw each other he would try to pretend he was still his normal self to kind of lure her in, and then like basically be able to do anything, because why wouldn't she trust him? He's Angel.
Mhm.
So it just was like, oh shit, where's this going? What the fuck is happening? But instant fear was initiated for her.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know. I could feel like I could replay that sequence of him just turning around and biting that woman. I'm just like, holy fucking shit. Then we roll right into Buffy arriving at her home, and she sneaks in through the back door and tries to head upstairs when Joyce calls her name out, hearing her steps, moving up the fucking stairs. Once again, this is like whenever Angel and her and Angel's episode in season 1, they went to walk up the stairs and they're like, you can hear the loud clacks on the fucking hardwood floor. And she just like is walking up the steps. I guess Joyce thinks she's coming down. Thankfully, Joyce was out of sight, like whenever Buffy went to go up the steps. But I think it's funny because Buffy turns right back around immediately to make it like she was coming down the stairs. And whenever her mom does make contact with her, she asks how it was at Willow's the night before. But technically, she asks if she had fun last night. And Buffy's like taken aback. She's like, fun? And she's like, technically I had fun last night because I got a dick. But like, she's like, questions her fun. And Joyce is like, at Willow's. And she's like, oh, yeah, it was fun. And Joyce just stares at her for a minute, too, because she can sense when, the vibes are off. And also, this is her daughter, and she just looks at her, and she's like, what? And then Joyce is like, you seem different. And then she's like, whatever. But I'm going to chalk it up to being that after-sex glow. And Joyce hasn't had it in so long, so she can't remember what it looks like. Which I get, because isn't this the look that she gets every time she sees weed? She's just like, this is amazing. But she like leaves Buffy. She doesn't really question it. She just like puts it out of sight, out of mind. And Buffy goes off to actually get ready for her day. Love how she's like, I'm going to go take a shower. And Joyce doesn't question at all. Like, well, aren't you dressed? Didn't you already do all this? I don't understand. You're in clothes already. What's going on?
I know. And why isn't she like, isn't this what you had on yesterday? Like,
Yeah.
you
She thinks Buffy was up being book cracker Buffy studying all night long and just went to sleep in her outfit that she forgot about. She's like, coming down for breakfast, because Joyce is like, you want me to make you some breakfast? And Buffy's like, no, I'm not hungry. And she's like, well, I am, because I just smoked a Jiffy Jolly outside. And then we flash over to school, and at school, Xander comes into the library, meeting up with everyone except Buffy and Angel in the room, mentioning the failed efforts of the bus depot, wondering where Buffy is. And Willow tells them that they didn't check in last night and they haven't heard anything from them, arriving at the idea that maybe the judge had been assembled and making Xander grow nervous. He thinks that spells out potential bad, so they got to go to the factory. They're like, we got to get there. And Cordy is like being smart ass to ask, and what do we do besides be afraid and die? Which is totally valid. But he like wasn't asking her to go because the vampires don't need makeup tips or grooming tips and all the other things that he said to her to lash out. Giles agrees. If her and Angel were harmed, none of them stand a chance. And Xander's persistent as fucking obviously riles up Willow in this moment too, who gets upset along with him. And she's like, we should still go after them. So they're going to the factory. And as soon as they go to lead off to go, Buffy walks in the fucking door. Xander saying, we were just coming to rescue you. And I like Willow's passive-aggressive statement to look over at Giles. And she's like,
Well, some of us were.
and Giles is like, what? I would have. He was trying to clean himself up. Jenny asks Buffy where Angel is. And Buffy is bothered because he didn't check in with him. She's like, he didn't come here. And Giles is wondering also about the judge, but no assembly required. Buffy confirms that he is active. Having nearly killed them, they had to hide, lying to the gang, saying that they split up, and again questioning, so like no one's heard from him. And we can see the warrior Buffy's like, I don't know, the fears automatically setting in, like being like, well, I didn't see Angel, I didn't wake up from him. Obviously, it's the same thing we were talking about. You wake up and that guy that you just slept with is not even in the bed with you anymore. So it kicks off this whole reel of, did I do something wrong? Like, is something happened? Did they sneak in here and grab Angel? Or did he walk outside to go do something? Whatever the case, go suck a rat dry out in the parking lot. Because He's obviously, or go to get some pig's blood from the butcher. Like, who knows? Because he's thirsty after sex, and he doesn't drink water. So, like, all of this is running through Buffy's head. And I do have to call out a Buffy fashion moment here because I love the sheer lace cardigan mesh that she has over her top. It always, like, pops for me. I love Buffy in these types of things. Giles questions Buffy about the judge and her informing him that he's a major player, speaking on when she kicked him, it was like an instant fever that she got. And she's thankful that he didn't get a hand on her because, she would be incinerated. Giles adding in time he won't need to, in time that he can reduce you to nothing with a glance, which obviously puts in a whole nother element for us to be like, oh, okay, so that's exactly what he can do. Like, and we see it by the end of the episode, but, he's only said that so far in the episode. He's like, I have to make contact, aka with Dalton and obviously almost with Buffy as well. But we didn't know that he could,
He's got to recharge.
Yeah, we didn't know that he could just look at you and incinerate you. And we'll see later exactly how he does that. But Buffy makes this comment too. She's like,
also, not the prettiest man in town.
Giles instructing everyone that they should head off for classes while he looks more into the potential weak spots on old blue man here. Jenny will be following his lead on the computer. Xander will come back to help as long as the books are I can read style, insults Cordy to him. She's like, you might be able to help if it's an I can read book. And he's like, fuck off, bitch. But he follows her out the damn library so damn quick. He's like, we going into a closet to make out?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sensing class is not in our future. We're going to act like we're Buffy and not attend. We're going to be tardy. Out in the halls, Willow asks Buffy about Angel going after the judge. And she's like, thinking that, like, you don't think he went after them, do you? And then Buffy's like, no, he's not that dumb. And stressing to her that she just wishes that he would contact her. And then they leave us in the hall with fucking Jenny lingering behind them, eavesdropping and, like, playing some eerie-ass music, like, basically making us be like, she's still watching them from last episode. We still understand that, Jenny is essentially looming. She's lingering. She's a lingerer.
She's a lingerer.
Yeah, but she's still up to stuff. She's still watching them. So I'm like, well, what is this going to play into the episode? And we shall see. Over in the factory, though, Drew has been laying on the table since her vision, now feeling a bit less intoxicated with post-vision insanity. She's naming all the stars. Spike telling her,
You can't see the stars, love. That's the ceiling. Also, it's day.
But she's a loony and can totally see them, claiming she's named them all the same name. And I wrote in my notes, $10 says she named them all revamped. But when we were watching the episode, you're like, and they're all named revamped.
Oh my god.
But JK, she has named all the stars Angel. Spike is inquisitive on what happens to Angel in her vision. Just as he enters the factory, spouting off about some fabricated bullshit. He's talking about, like, he joins the New York, Broadway show or whatever and lives out this dream, blah, blah, blah. Spike snarks, he just doesn't give up. Well, as long as he's there. And Angel's like, as long as there's injustice in the world. And scum like Spike is rolling the streets, because he's like, just as he was walking and he goes, well, rolling the streets, he'll be sure to be around. I love the next line because Angel's like, just look over your shoulder and I'll be there. And then Spike grins, saying,
Yeah. Angel, look over your shoulder.
I like this moment because he turns around and the judge is like right the fuck there and places a hand on Angel's chest. And Spike rhetorically stating, hurts, doesn't it? Angel firing back with,
Well, it kind of itches a little. Don't just stand there, burn him. Gee, maybe he's broken. What the hell is going on?
This one cannot be burned. He's clean.
Clean? You mean
There's no humanity in him.
and you know what? Angel couldn't have said that better himself, because Angel's like, I couldn't have said it better myself. And I like his little like smirk. He's like, I don't know, the thing he does with his mouth. He like shrugs. And
You
he's
just
like,
literally did it perfectly.
yeah, but they can't see me. Priscilla smiles to say his name. I don't know why she didn't just say Angelus, though, because they're still all calling him Angel. And I'm like, bro, this is Angelus, so we need to get with the times. He just responds, yeah, baby, I'm back. And we're like, oh, no.
And then we have a heart attack.
Yes, because I wrote in my notes, I was like, and if you weren't on board by this point, this is revealing to us that his humanity, aka his soul, is gone. The thing that stands before them is Angelus, the original baddest of the bad, purely demon, aka vampire.
It was instant dread for me. It really was. I was like, this is just, there's no way this ends well. This is the worst thing that could happen right now. Like, out of all the things that have already evolved and came to be, this is the worst. Probably the worst. So I was like, yeah, of course they gotta level out Buffy's birthday with this here bullshit. Happy birthday, Buffy. Yeah.
Again,
I feel like it's my life in a way, like constant Mercury retrograde vibes where you're just like, really? What else?
literally though. Ugh. Yeah, it's just intense. And I really like the fact that this is how they put it into words for us, because we need to really know, and it needs to be said so that way we can understand. Because most people would probably be like, well, maybe it's temporary, or whatever. But it kind of sucks because technically Angel's dead now. Like, his soul is gone,
I
which is the thing that
know.
like kind of binded him to his conscience and all that. And now it's just gone again. So he's released back into the ether or wherever the fuck he was before he ever got re-ensouled. He's just back living his eternal
Well,
bliss.
that, and then the way that they make him sound from his, from the stories we've heard of Angelus, it's kind of like, not only is this now, there's no hope for his soul because it's gone, and the way that we know him is no longer to be. It's also like, oh, fuck, this is like the worst of the worst, like we've seen Drusilla be a psycho, we've seen Spike be a psycho, we've seen the Master be crazy, like we've seen the crazies of all the crazies. But we haven't yet seen Angelus and how he truly is. So even just them touching base on this like fraction of what we've seen is already like frightening enough for me. I'm good on Angelus. I'm like, wherever Angelus came from, he needs to go back there. Back in time, go away.
No, most definitely. And like it just builds from here, because you initially, whenever you said that you saw the opening sequence, you said fear hit, and then just now you said initial dread set in. So it just like continues to like change the spiral of emotions that you're feeling, and you're like, what the fuck is about to happen and go down?
Yeah, and like as much as you want to be like, oh fuck, how much worse can it get? You know that you're just kind of getting started on this shit show of a journey. So I'm kind of just strapped in at this point. Like, let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Spike and Drew are stoked as fuck about this too, and like they're more stoked than we are about this, obviously, because they're evil as shit. And she is pleased their little family is back together. Spike is just glad he doesn't have to be seeing Angel be the Slayer's lapdog anymore. Angel growls at him too, and like picks him up by his jacket. You think he's gonna whoop his ass or like do something, pull him up out the chair and throw him across the room or some shit? But then he just kisses Spike on the forehead, and the two just start laughing maniacally. And Drew is like, I want the deets. And Angelus is like, I don't kiss and tell. Besides, it doesn't matter. And Spike voices, all that matters now is it's 4 against 1. And those are the odds that he likes. Drusilla delivering a line that I've always liked.
Psst. We're going to destroy the world. Want to come?
Yeah.
But nowadays, I hate that fucking shit, because she runs it the fuck out. Because any interview that I see, and obviously I have a little bit of disdain for her, just a little bit. She be running this the fuck out. Like every single time she's at a Comic-Con convention or something like that, she's always like, I want to destroy the world, blah, blah, blah. And then whenever she had the Slaying It podcast, that was like one of the things that she did every episode. It was like an automatic recording or something they put in there. And I'm just like, bitch. And she'll like contort it nowadays too and say other phrases along with it, but she always says that. I'm like, why don't you skip my podcast name back to me instead of you? Like, I don't know. Anyways, Angel is more interested in the Slayer, despite calling out his major hurt her vibes. Angel stating that she made him feel human, and that's not the type of shit you forgive. Flashing over to the library, Willow is on the phone with Buffy and talking to her about Angel still being a miss. And she's like, but he's definitely not dead. That's good. And like, we can not hear, obviously, Buffy on the other side of the line, but Buffy is still mad tripping, and she's just like fucking giving Willow an earful. And Willow's like, I'm like, bitch, calm down. Willow does get off the phone with her and tells Xander and Giles that she has checked all the spots, nothing, and even beat up Willie at the snitch a couple of times for some info as well, and still had nothing. Giles does say, though, that Angel goes on the lam sometimes, right? Because he has disappeared a little bit. And Willow agrees, and Wig watching us to state, but Buffy is extra waked this time, probably because of her dreams. And I'm like, no, because she fucked him and is now a stage 100 clinger. That's what Buffy is given right now. JK, but really no. She's like, I want to talk to him about last night, like the big we had sex talk. Obviously, this was a big moment for her. Or she maybe wants some more dick. And she's like, I just need like round 2. Like, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm not certain. I don't know. I'm not Buffy. All I know is she's feeling emotional as fuck over this and just needs to speak with this man. And Willow is a bit doubtful maybe something may have happened to Angel after all, saying that she's stopping at home and then Buffy will be heading to the school. Xander goes into the stacks to grab a new book, speaking with Cordy, who is also back there researching about some findings in the judge. And it's the same regurgitated rotation we've been hearing, nothing new, no 𝑣𝒂𝒑 can stop him, took an army, all that yada yada bullshit. Xander also apologizes for his comments to Cordy earlier about the factory, and Cordy clapping back with the absolute truth to be like, he was too busy rushing off to die for his beloved Buffy. And I was like, damn, if Cordy don't speak it for all of us. Like, she called this shit, and she does, however, throw in he would never die for her in a way we've never seen Cordy really express herself, because she actually kind of gets offended by it. She's like, you'd never die for me. And I was like, oh, Cordelia, you
I know, I'm kind of
liking
sad.
Xander a little bit too much. You need to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
And Xander's like, come on, can't we just kiss and make up? And Cordelia doesn't want to make up. Him going to leave her, stopping him, because she's like, wait, I'm totes okay with the kissing part, though. And the two start doing their thing as per usual, except now they're in the fucking library. Only this time, when they pull away, we see Willow standing there having witnessed this whole interaction. And Willow's face right here is just the epitome of sheer heartbrokenness. You thought Buffy was fucking sad this episode, and we will see Buffy 10 times more sad, but this just, I don't know, this crushes Willow. Whenever they split apart, I was on the edge of my seat, kind of eyeing you. I was waiting for them to split so that way you could see Willow. And you gave me the exact reaction I needed. You were like, ah, fuck. You just knew this was bad. This was not the way that she needed to see it. You can tell that this hits different than whenever she saw him with Empada, where his feelings over Buffy. And then she runs out the room and he chases her out into the halls, yelling for her to stop. And she does, and she screams at him.
I knew it! Well, not knew it in the sense of having the slightest idea, but I knew there was something I didn't know. You two were fighting way too much. It's not natural.
But he knows it's weird, but she disagrees. She's like, this is unnatural. It's against all laws of God and man. It's Cordelia, reminding him of their club that he is treasurer of. Because she's like,
remember the We Hate Cordelia Club, of which you are the treasurer.
that shit was so funny. I'm like, damn, when they were little kids, the Be My Deputy thing, they also had the club that they made in third grade for fucking We Hate Cordelia. Can you imagine how much of a little bitch Cordelia was to them even in elementary school?
They probably are the inventors of the real burn book, and the first one was ever made for Cordelia. By Xander and Willow.
Cordelia takes up 12 pages.
She takes up half the damn
The whole
book.
book's called We Hate Cordelia. It's called the We Hate Cordelia class,
Exactly.
Xander admits that he wanted to say something. Her wondering, she's like, what stopped you? Could it have been shame? And he's having enough and says that it was just kissing. It doesn't mean that much. And she sadly looks at him, tearing up, admitting to herself that he would rather just be with someone that he hates rather than be with her. And right here, we're sad for her, but also I guess I'll put it this way. First, we have been the last few episodes hearing Willow make comments about how she's noticed something off about Cordy and Xander. She said it in that X. She's like, are they acting weirder than weird?
Yeah.
Whenever they went off together, whenever Xander told her that she looked nice that day and they walked off to go make out in the broom closets and stuff, she made a comment. She's like, what's up with them? So she has really been taking notice. And you don't really think about that until you get this big moment, which means the writers knew that this reveal was coming and in this way. But second, I thought we were past this, because I think that's what you kind of alluded to. You were like, Willow, really? This is how you're acting? And let's not even get started on Oz at the moment, because this moment is a huge slap. Xander Miles runs out there because he knows what this means and he understands, but he tries to play it off when he's been wanting to tell people. He could have just admitted that he liked Cordy and they've been vibing and he didn't want, to make Willow of all people feel that way. And he said it when he comes out there. He's like, it's just kissing. It doesn't mean anything. But yet he's been trying to tell Cordelia on the sidelines, I want to tell people about us. Can't we just admit that we're dating and all this other stuff? But yet you're telling Willow right here, right now, a lie saying that you didn't care. Or it's just nothing. It's just kissing. Y'all are just making out and hooking up, quote unquote. Why not just be clean right now and come forward for the truth and be like, you know what? I don't know how it happened, but our arguing just kind of turned into this new thing. And I don't really know what it is, but I actually have some feelings for Cordelia. It doesn't have to be that I'd rather be with somebody that I hate than be with you, because I've expressed millions of times that I don't want to be with you, Willow. You've known this, as I've noticed every other girl in the world besides you, And Willow is over here acting out, in my opinion, a little horribly, because she has no claim to Xander and is still on something that she knows she shouldn't be. He hasn't given her the time of day since that ice cream on the nose in the season opener. Although I do understand and empathize with her, it just sucks that she had to find out this way. And that's probably why she's taken aback by it. But she made the decision consciously in Inca Mummy Girl to move on from Xander. And then that's whenever Oz kind of started being introduced. So I'm just like, I don't know. What do you have to weigh in on this instance?
No, I totally agree. My first reaction was definitely more on the like, come on, Willow, like, aren't we over this? Aren't we past this kind of thing? Like, why does it matter almost, you know? But then in the same breath, I do understand like why her feelings are hurt. And I think it just goes down to the same old premise of when you're doing stuff like that, and it doesn't matter what relationship in your life you're either keeping secret or who you're keeping it secret from. If you're keeping a secret, then that means that the truth is going to hurt someone's feelings. That's why you're keeping it a secret, obviously, you know, or it's going to do something to your own reputation. So then it'll hurt your feelings, whatever the case is. Like, either way, someone gets hurt, you know, and I think, like, best practices is to always be a little bit more forthright, especially when the people in question are your friend group and they're
Mhm.
people that you see and are exposed to every single day, and you already have a lot of intimate exchanges with these people where they are kind of like a vessel for your most vulnerable information. They're your best friends, they're your closest people, they're your tribe, whatever you wanna call them. So I feel for Willow in the sense of being kind of disappointed in Xander for keeping a secret that obviously now, if she thinks back long enough, she can probably almost pinpoint kind of how long this may or may not have been going on already. So I think that stands from anyone, you know, like you could do that to me and keep a secret relationship. And I don't have any intimate feelings towards you, but it would hurt my feelings to know that you kept a secret from me, especially if I knew it was going on for weeks or months or however long. You know, it's like the longevity behind it also makes it worse
Right.
because it's not like this was the first time they were making out and Willow knew that, you know? And so I think that there's that part of it that's kind of like, why the fuck didn't you just tell me? Because then it kind of discredits their own closeness. It's like a slap in the face just outside of her previous feelings that were romantic towards Xander. I think as a friend, it is kind of a slap in the face, you know what I mean? To kind of get not even lied to, but to have that like vital of a piece of information about your personal life be withheld from you by someone like your best friend. So I do understand it, but like you said, I don't understand Xander's like contradictive nature behind it. The only thing that makes sense to me is that he already had that conversation with Cordelia about wanting to be like a little bit more open and not hide as much or maybe be forthright and tell
Mhm.
people. And her shutting that down instantly maybe forced him back into the space of knowing like this will never happen. So maybe it was easier for him to come out there and say to Willow, like, this doesn't mean anything. We're just making out because now he's been reminded, like, we're not anything. She literally just said it to me
Yeah, I
earlier
didn't think
today.
about that.
You know what I mean? So maybe there's that where he's also cushioning his own feelings and he's also protecting his own self because he wants to pretend like he doesn't want more because Cordelia doesn't either. So
Yeah,
he's kind of like, it isn't
because it's
anything,
more
you
like
know?
on the flip side, like she says, what could have stopped you? Could it be shame?
And he's like, no,
Yeah,
Cordelia.
yeah, and like Cordelia's like has the shame. She's carrying the burden of like quote unquote dating Xander behind closed doors, and Xander has been trying to make the effort to like put it out there, and he did. I mean, I do award that. Like he did try to tell her last episode. Like I said, my original statement, like he did want to like say something about dating and telling everybody, at least telling his friends. He said it a couple of times that they should at least
Yeah.
let their friends know. So I mean, I guess I do have to award Xander in that way for trying to make it a thing, but Cordelia hasn't. And you just kind of opened my eyes to that fact that maybe because Cordelia has been like, no, we're not going to be a thing. Like we're just going to continue to be making out. We're not actually dating. Maybe that's why he's saying it's nothing serious. It's just kissing because that's what Cordelia sees it as. So I'll never be able to be like, a person in
It's
her
not worth
eyes.
it,
Yeah.
basically, like, for him to say that he has feelings for her when that in his mind, he already knows that's not gonna
Yeah. But he could have
transpire into
said
more,
that
and then
to
he would just
Willow.
be hurting her unnecessarily more, you know, talking about Willow,
Yeah.
like, he would just be then kinda doubling down on hurting her more, so I think in this case, it's okay to say what he said, I guess, with that in mind, and he's also respecting Cordelia, because what if he did say, hey, I was going to be forthright, and I had a chat with Cordelia because I do have feelings for her, but she said basically this is nothing to her, and so we're just going to keep making out and pretend this isn't
Yeah, it's a
happening.
fling.
You know,
He
like,
should have
then that's a
said that
lot for
though, I
him.
think. I think he should have just like
But
put that on
then
the table.
Cordelia looks bad, and he does,
But
you
there,
know, I think he's
Cordelia always
protecting
looks
her in a
bad. You know
way.
what I mean? Like Cordelia is always like the blunt person. She would have just been like, oh well, then
You're
whatever. But they,
right. But what would that be for him too, to have to admit that out loud? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because that's too much. Like, I think that's embarrassing for him to have to say, well, she's willing to make out with me whenever, but more than that is a
for
no. And I'm
sure.
not allowed to talk about my feelings for her because she's never going to reciprocate,
Yeah,
you know?
I think
So,
I'm just on the side of like you said in your initial statement that it's your friends and you should just be being honest with them. You shouldn't be keeping anything from them,
totally.
especially when it's being exposed and it's already now out in the open. Like the blow isn't going to be cushioned anymore now. So you could, I mean, you don't even have to give that necessarily up about Cordelia, but you could at least be honest and say that I've been having feelings for her. And you know what I mean? You don't have to say
Hmm.
it's nothing and stuff like that because he's going to continue to still fuck with Cordelia as he does the rest of this episode. And Willow just kind of has to come to terms with it here in a couple of scenes in a way. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just this
Yeah.
bucket of
But
like,
that's why I said, like, initially, keeping a secret isn't worth it because you just force yourself into this really bad space with people then, because the odds are the longer it goes on, the more of a risk there is for them to find out in a way that you don't prefer. And if you prefer to have the time and space to tell them, then you should probably do that
yeah,
instantaneously. You know, like maybe after the very first time that they made out more than once and he could see this being routine, he should have low key told them and said, hey, please don't say anything to Cordelia, but this is what transpired and this is likely what's going to happen. I can't say if we're going to date, but we're going to be randomly making out in the janitor's closet from time to time, so don't
he
tell
did tell
nobody.
Buffy. He told Buffy and Bad Eggs, and she was like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh, nothing. It's the head injury." Yeah, I mean, I get it too, because like, I mean, Cordelia has been this sense of problem for both him, the whole gang initially, and now she's kind of a part of it. So it's like that should be cushioning a little bit of it, but I think overall it just comes down to like the truth being told, and it could
Hmm.
have been handled differently. But I like the fact that we have the reveal in this way, and it kind of brings up this like emotional turmoil for Willow because Willow's innocence is destroyed in a way for this because this is the boy that she's loved her whole life, and she sees him having hidden this from her and like having to catch them in the act just hurts, I think, for her a whole lot more. So
Yeah, and I think it makes you question how much you can trust someone, especially your best friend going forward if they're willing to keep something like that from you. So, yeah, I get it. And I'm sure it changes like the way that she views their whole friendship probably for a while, you know, like that kind of stuff takes time to
yeah,
process. So I kind of feel bad for Willow too.
she puts it aside a little bit though in a way. So and obviously as we
Hmm.
come to the terms of that the end, but we'll talk about some more of that whenever we go along. Right now she's running the fuck off out of the fucking school, and we flash over to find Buffy arriving at home, and she doesn't feel like being there and decides to head over to Angel's, which we cut over to his apartment, and she's entering it seemingly empty until he walks by shirtless behind her out of sight when she like makes her way over to the bed because she's like maybe he's laying in it and he's not. But whenever she does turn around and see him, she's super stoked and runs over to him with brightness and kisses, latching on to him, asking where he's been, and he claims around. She tells him that he disappeared and how she's been freaking out. And he tells her, what? I took off. And she's just like, but you just left and didn't say anything. Basically arguing that with him. And like, he just replies to her, who would want to stick around after that? And she is shocked at what he is saying to her. Him adding, you have a lot to learn about men, kiddo. I guess you proved that last night. And I'm like, oh, damn, like automatically a blow. She is baffled and asks for clarity. And he doesn't want to discuss it at all. He's like, it happened. That's about the it. And she doesn't understand. Asking like, and Sarah's acting on this, just like the cracks in her voice. She's like, was I not good? And him smirking like a jerk and laughing. He's like, no, you were good. I thought you were a pro. And she starts to cry, wondering, how can you be saying this to me? And he doesn't sense that this is a big deal. It's not bells ringing, fireworks, and little birdies singing, once again mocking her in a way. And laughing at her some more also while he wipes a tear from her eye because she's like trying to tell him like this is a big deal. And she backs away whenever he tries to wipe her tear from her eyes. And she's like, don't touch me. And he turns to leave, saying he should have known that she wouldn't be able to handle it. And she calls out to him before he makes it to the door. And she's like,
Angel! I love you.
Love you too.
And he gives that awful, like, love you too, and just exit after the fact of him being like, I'll call you. Like, just, I don't know. Like, the way he does this is totally probably what the
Dismissive.
dismissive nature every girl has felt from the guy. I automatically like think of The Craft whenever Bonnie's character hangs out with Skeet Ulrich's character Chris, and she like just hangs out with him and he wants to have sex, and she's like, actually I think I'm gonna go home. And then the next day when she gets to school, everyone's like whispering about her and laughing, and he won't talk to her. He has his friend step in and she's like, why are you lying about me and telling people we like sleep together? And he's like, listen, I don't want to fuck with you anymore, just the begging's not cute, like, you know what I mean? But it's a complete lie. It just brings in this whole ushering of like bullshit ass men. And it does it well in
Yes.
this. And that's where he's trying to play it, basically to fuck with her head in this moment. And she's crushed. Like, apparently Joss speaks on this scene saying that they originally tried to film it outside and it just didn't hit. And they decided to move it to the bedroom scene. He claimed that this had to play out in the bedroom where they had made love. And he had to be semi-nude because it had to be an intimate moment as possible. Like, they just had to bring that out. And Angel being shirtless means that the audience sees the tattoo, which was shown just before their first kiss in the season 1 episode. When Buffy comes in looking for him, she steps towards the bed, not like seeing him, and he walks behind her, and the audience knows that she's in danger. And that knowledge is underlined by a brief musical response in the score, and the sense of touch here is invoked as well. He allows her in relief to fully embrace his naked torso, which leads to an even more vulnerable emotional state before he like strikes at her. You know what I mean? Like, he acts like everything's okay at first, and then just like divvies out this bullshit, which is awful. And then he just leaves her fucking ass standing in there upset and crying, and she's like left with what the fuck just happened. You know what I mean? I can't imagine what's going through her head at this time. She's probably so confused and thinking to herself, what the fuck is up with Angel? Has he always been this way, and this is what his ultimate goal was? Is he just being like a classic man? You know what I mean? Because she has no idea that he's evil at this point either. So like, I don't know. Over with Uncle Anyos, we see that he's going on a rant about vengeance with Jenny, and she's confused. She did what he stated. She's like, I watched Angel, tried to keep him away from the Slayer, claiming that there have been many outside factors, what with all the evil nasties in town telling him Angel could be of help to them. And she's like trying to like tell Anyos that Angel's a good guy, and this guy's like, no, that's some bullshit. This is not what we're here for. And getting them on the subject of the curse again and its stipulations, because it may be too late, telling us the one moment of true happiness stipulation, the contentment, one moment where the soul that was meant to suffer feels that suffrage less, then boom, it is taken from him. Jenny is curious if it's happened, because if so, that means Angelica. I about said Angelica Pickles like this is a Rugrats. Because if so, that means Angelus is back. Anya stating he hoped to stop it, but it may have been arranged to be so. And it's interesting that he says it might be arranged to be so, because I'm like, is he like, okay, that Angel is like evil now? They're just making this really aloof in this moment, and I'm kind of confused. But they have to bring up like the full stipulation of saying, again, the moment of true happiness is what causes his soul to leave. So that way we're really clued in, like, with the gang. Jenny states to Anyos that Buffy loves him stating that she will now have to kill him, and getting enraged to say unless he kills her first. And she's like telling Anyos that this is insanity and that people are going to die, and him reminding her before she goes that justice is not what they serve, it's vengeance. Which is really interesting, because like, he doesn't give a fuck as long as Angel is getting vengeance. But obviously if he's lost his soul too, then what y'all are putting out there, y'all just like are okay with the fact that a monster's loose on the world. Jenny's not, but Anyos is just like, well, you know, his soul's gone. Oh, well, like, why not curse his ass again then, if that's what his torment's supposed to be? If you want him upset and all that stuff, like, why wouldn't you just be like, well, the elder woman needs to curse his fucking ass again? Why wouldn't you be on the phone doing all that and trying to figure out, like, can we get him cursed again? Even though they don't really know, but he's just like saying all this pain has been weakening and like that it may have happened.
And I'm like, well, why didn't Anyos bring her with him?
I don't know.
It sounds like she can do a lot more in this case scenario.
I have no clue, but I'm like, I just get so torn with his comment and quote about it may have been arranged to be so. That's a problem on y'all's part, because y'all were the one that cursed him, so y'all should still be like worrying about him being cursed, not being like, this is fate that's brought this out, like Angelus is supposed to return again. That was what y'all don't want. Y'all remember what he did the last time. You don't think that he's going to be upset with y'all motherfuckers, as you find out in a little bit, Uncle Anyos, that he likes vengeance himself, like, because he's gonna come back for these people that put a curse on him and had him, you know, pushed down to the bottomless pits of Angel's existence, and they're on the back burner while he had to like basically see and witness all this do-goody bullshit that Angel did. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Plot holes, convenience, all the things. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. But Jenny ain't having it. Later in the night, Willow comes back to the school, running into Xander in the halls. Him glad she came back to help them. Willow having to set the record straight for her. She's like, I don't want to understand what's going on with you guys. You have gross emotional problems and that things are not okay between them at the moment. But what's going on with the judge and everything is more important than all of that. He accepts this and she asks about info on the judge and him saying, they're still in the same boat on info, no weapon forged, took an army, the same fucking bullshit that we keep hearing. Like, I'm just like, can y'all shut up about this? We understand it at this point. Willow joking about, like, where's an army when you need one, giving Xander the aha moment where he has a thought.
Whoa, I think I'm having a thought. Yeah, that's a thought. Now I'm having a plan.
Then cooks up a plan and not getting to voice it because the lights go out. Now he's like,
Now I'm having a Wiggins.
we get our second wig watch. They start to go to the library, but are interrupted by Angel calling out to them, who are both surprised to see him all the way down the hall across in the shadows on the other side. But nonetheless, he's okay. Willow wondering if he saw Buffy, and he doesn't lie. And he says, yeah, wondering, like, what's up with the lights? I'm like, well, you pulled the power cord and cut them off. He's trying to act clueless here. Xander starts to clue him in on his idea, but Angel is like more interested in showing them something. He's like, no, don't worry about that right now. I've got something to show you. And he tells Xander to go run and grab the others and for Willow to come closer to him. He's like, come here, Willow. And we're like, oh, fuck. And she does and starts walking slowly towards him. And here, to me, it feels like a horror movie because her innocently being like, what is it, Angel? Having no clue and going right the fuck towards him. It's just like watching like the shark in Jaws, Jaws come up to the people in the water, or like the slasher killer creeping up behind the person. I think of like, Michael Myers appearing in the darkness behind Laurie Strode before he cuts her in the arm and knocks her over the banister and stuff like that. You just see it coming. And I'm just like, oh my God. I remember like thinking Willow was going to die in this instance in the first time, which obviously we haven't like unfolded the scene, but I was just like, what is going to happen? Like someone's going to get hurt. It's not going to be good. And like those same feelings just run through me. And he claims that it's something amazing. And we catch Xander halfway down the hall, turn and look back, kind of feeling off as someone appears that we find as Jenny behind Willow, telling her to get away from him. Her turning around, just a couple feet away from Angelus, around to face Jenny and being like, what? And we see Jenny with a cross saying to just walk to her. And Willow is more confused, wondering like what this woman's going on about. But she knows just as soon as Angel grabs her from behind by the throat, viciously yanking her back. Xander running back into the hall yelling, don't do that. And Angel's like, oh, I think I do that. I'm like, Willow looking back at him saying his name, and Jenny saying, you're not Angel anymore, are you? And then him practically snarling and snarking back at her. He's like,
Wrong. I am Angel. At last. Oh my God.
And how he has a message for Buffy. As we hear, thankfully, Buffy behind him say,
Why don't you give it to me yourself?
he spins around with Willow to face her, stating, oh so evilly,
Well, it's not really the kind of message you tell. It sort of involves finding the bodies of all your friends.
wringing Willow's neck harder and closing his grip on it as he says this too, jolting her. Like, and Willow cries out, and we're just like, oh my God, he's going to pop her fucking head off. This is so scary because she audibly whimpers out as he does it. And she does that tired speech about how there must be some part of him inside that remembers who you are. He's like, I thought we already covered this subject. And he's like,
Dream on, schoolgirl. Your boyfriend is dead. You're all gonna join him.
Xander in the background is also grabbing Jenny's cross and slowly creeping up to Angel and Willow. Buffy telling Angelus to leave Willow alone and deal with her. Him stating, but she's so cute and helpless and really a turn on. Which is kind of giving them that sadistic nature that like Spike has for people, almost like that rapey, torture you, all that shit kind of vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Adding just another element onto like the fact that Angel is purely evil and probably way worse than Spike ever was because he's the one who helped create Spike and live in existence with him. And just as Xander shoves the cross in Angel's face, Angel tosses Willow at him and the two fly into the wall. Angel hiking Buffy up by her shoulders into his face to say, things are about to get very interesting, laying a demonic vampire kiss on her lips and shoving her backwards aggressively into the wall and walking out the doors. Buffy now in the catatonia that Chris and Daryl's mom was in, as Xander calls out if she's okay, but she's not in there at the moment because she's just like staring at the door as Angel walked off. I thought it was one cool because Angel turned and like walked with his face towards them, like he backed out the door because he's like, I ain't got time for her to be throwing no steak at my back or some kind of bullshit and chasing me out. Like he wants to like just like make eye contact the whole way out too, just to let him know that he's fucking watching them as well. So it has like a dual purpose. But I also like to, I didn't notice it until literally right now as I was reading it out to you, that I wrote in here laying a demonic vampire kiss on her lips. Because the last time we saw him in vampire phase kiss her, it was like an intimate moment on the ice skating rink. And they were like so in love and stuff. And now he's kissing her like a completely different way in vampire form. So now I think her mindset is fucking changed on what she initially felt for him. Like, she's like, I
That's
didn't even
so
notice.
sad.
Well, next time you notice it, it is fucking sad. But this scene is fire, but it's also so damn chilling. Like the quote, I have a message for Buffy. And then he goes, it's really not the kind of message you tell. It involves finding the bodies of all your friends. Like, he straight up came there to kill every single one of them. Xander, Cordy, Willow, Jenny, Giles, and then was just going to have Buffy stumble upon them. This would have been horrific for her. And to be honest, I don't know which way it would have went. Like, on one hand, had Buffy not came to the school when cut into the situation, and he did do what he came there to do, Buffy would have either gotten so pissed off that it fueled her Slayer energy, and she would have just like went straight to kill him and done so successfully, and then disappeared from the world and acted like Kendra from there on out, like abandoning everything because she would have nothing left. But more of me kind of was thinking into it, and I was like, because Buffy herself craves so much of a normal life and has always felt the burden of her Slayerhood, whether having accepted it or not, I think if she had found them all dead, Angel would have moved on to go visit Joyce right afterwards and killed her too. So Buffy would have went home to also find her mom dead, and it would have defeated Buffy. And I think that she would have went to still take down Angel, but I think he would have killed her, and perhaps she would have been like okay with it because she had already lost everything. You know what I mean? Because if he went there and killed everybody, he's going to go right over to Joyce and kill her mom too. He going to leave that out because that's the only other thing she has to live for.
Well, and it just so mirrors what we hear he did to Drusilla. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like he's following in this path of like, I'm gonna fuck you up. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm gonna make sure that I do it in a way where you're last on the list, so you get to feel every shred of pain of me taking every single thing you know away from you. And then you're the last thing. Your life is the last life I'm taking. So it's kind of like this thing. Now we get to see how he behaved toward Drusilla before Drusilla became Drusilla. So it's kind of like that could have been an end too. You know what I mean? What if she basically just arrived to die because, like you said, she's defeated at this point. Everyone she knows and loves is dead. He's killed everyone. And then what if she just arrives at his mercy basically and is like, you know what? I don't have anything I'm not even fighting you. I'm not worth the energy. Like, do what you will. And then he turns her into a fucking vampire. You know what I mean?
He probably would,
Like,
because I think if Buffy was a vampire, he would be okay with being with her. Like, because she would be like, he would have done basically what he did to Drusilla.
That's true. But then Buffy and Drusilla would have like eternal competition with each other.
For real though. But thankfully, like, she still has Spike and all that too. But I like how you bring up the parallel between the two of them and like the mirroring between Drusilla and Buffy, because obviously this episode, like, Surprise was mirroring the two of them with, her coming out party for the, like, her strength being returned and for like the judge and all of that stuff. And then Buffy's
like her rebirth
and then Buffy's
day, and then
actually having her birthday. So I didn't think about that, but like I am brought back to the fact that they made that quote in *𝙁 where Angel tells Buffy that he devised every mental torture of just turning her into a vampire. And now that's basically what he's going to do to Buffy, is he's going to fuck with her until she's fucking... And he says that to Spike and them later, because he makes the comment about how to kill her, because strength isn't going to get it done, obviously, as Spike has seen in the past.
Yeah.
This shit's intense. I love this scene. It was really cool to watch you watch it and then get to see all these elements and then like freaking out because you were like, what the fuck? It was really cool.
Oh, I was freaking out.
I know. I have it on video. And our audience will see as well. Well, back in the library, Giles is speaking on the certainty of Angel reverting to his former self. He's like, I didn't expect Angel to rejoin his team. Willow, in a calm shock filled with disbelief, knowing and stating that he came there to kill them, as I just kind of like went on a tangent about. Like, that's probably a mind fuck for her. Well, she's like, because the way she says it, she's like, whoa, he came here to kill us. If Buffy hadn't came here, like, we would have all been dead. We wouldn't have stood a chance against his ass at all. Cordy asking what they're going to do, and Giles feels like blind panic is where he's leaning. Things are bad enough with the judge here. Now they got Angel crossing over to Spike's team. This is just bad, bad, bad. And Buffy's over here staring at her ring. Willow asking if she's okay, and Buffy stating that when she saw him, she should have knew something was different. Private things that she doesn't want to share, because Giles is like, what do you mean? And she's like, it's private. Jenny chiming in to say, like, but Buffy knew he had turned bad. Willow clocking her in this moment too, and she's like, wait, how did you know when you intervened? And Jenny's like excusing that she's like, well, I saw his face. And I'm like, you was just walking around the fucking school with a cross in your hand? Like, no, you already knew something was going on. And where were you standing in the corner? Were you in your classroom down the hall and you heard them in the halls? Like, what is going on there? But it doesn't come to light yet. Giles wonders how this could have happened, claiming something set this off, a trigger, adding Buffy should know if anyone. And she says that she doesn't, and he persists to ask if anything happened last night. And this girl has like what I would call a full-on emotional breakdown, getting up and running out the room, saying that she like can't handle this right now. And he calls out after her. He's like trying to bring her back in, and Willow is just like, Giles, shut up, because she's understanding what has happened, probably because of the conversation that they had the morning before about her and Angel taking the next step. She can tell that her best friend's like fucking devastated right now, and like I don't think she knows that they like this is because of the curse and sleeping together and all of that shit, but she's like knowing that Buffy had some kind of like
some sort of turning point.
Yeah,
or
like it really did have to do with Buffy. Yeah,
happened.
she knows that like Buffy knows but doesn't want to say it, and it's breaking her heart. And then Willow's the biggest Angel and Buffy stan in general, so she's like, I just like how she's like, Giles, shut up. And after she leaves the room, Cordy speaks up, and she's like, over the list of bullshit happening to them in the moment, she's like,
This is great. There's an unkillable demon in town. Angel's joined his team. The Slayer is a basket case. I'd say we've hit bottom.
And then Xander pipes out to be like, I have an idea how we can get rid of the judge. And Cordy's like, oh, here's a lower place. And he goes on about his idea. He's like, that I might need Cordelia for, but they need a big vehicle. Willow saying that she will get Oz. He has a van. Cordelia's like, what do you need me for? And Xander's like, I can't let you know in case you won't do it, but to meet me at Willow's later. And he's like, in something trashy. Like, her outfit wasn't even trashy. Like, she was wearing a normal outfit. And I was like, you could tell her to like skank it up, like wear a short little skirt or something like that. Maybe like a halter top to expose some cleavage or something.
You know he had to be an asshole.
He did. Giles unsure that what they should do about Buffy. Jenny and Willow in agreement if they aren't attacking tonight, then they should just let her be. And Giles claiming to know what she's going through, and Willow adding, no, that you couldn't know, like you can't. Over at the factory, Angelus is gloating about the look on Buffy's face to Spike and Drew, and he's bummed that he didn't kill her, Spike is. Drew informing he doesn't want to kill her, he wants to hurt her. And then she makes that comment, she's like you did with me. Which is intriguing, because if he wanted to, he could have taken her out like then and there whenever she was in the room. She wouldn't have seen it coming. You know what I mean? He could have just ran over there and snapped her neck or bit her in the moment, like, and she would have just had to die, whatever. But he obviously, as we discussed, wants to play mind games with her and torture her and do all that stuff. I wrote my notes. I was like, he wants to torture her like Drusilla's doing with Miss Edith right now, because she's like holding that damn doll and she pulls the like blindfold off her eyes and then sticks her two fingers like she was about to do to Dalton in her eyeballs. I was like, oh shit.
I know. I'm like, what the fuck is this bitch doing?
Crazy. And she smiles at Angel afterwards too, and like saying, like I said, hurting her like he hurt her. Spike is worried about the Slayer getting in their way, and Angel aggressively telling him not to worry and that he doesn't get it, mocking him about his failed attempts on trying to kill Buffy himself, saying, she's stronger than the other Slayers that you faced, landing on the fact that force won't do the trick. You gotta go from the inside. In order to kill this girl, you have to love her. In Buffy's room, we get the saddest scene when she comes in crying, making herself feel worse by fondling the cross necklace that Angel gave her that's hanging about her jewelry. And then taking more looks at her ring that he gave her, slipping it off onto her finger to stare at it, and just start like sobbing, moving over to her bed to violently sob even more. And these cries hurt, like they hurt so bad. My bottom lip is tucked up. It was like that whenever I always get a lump in my throat. I used to sob along with her. Like I used to literally flood tears when I was a kid watching this scene. And now I've seen it so much that it doesn't hit the exact same way, but I still get that lump in my throat because I don't like to see Buffy sad. I've said it every single time. I don't like to see her in pain because she's my favorite person in the world. That's why I love the show so much. And your heart just hurts for her heart in moments like this too, because this is where she has her breakdown moment. She just curls up on the bed and literally like violently sobbing. I couldn't put it any better way. You remember in Midsommar, whenever those women come up to that woman crying and they start crying with her and like they tune it, like,
that's you. You're like, oh.
You ever notice we haven't been able to mention Hereditary since like the Dark Age?
Oh my god, we like lost traction with
Yeah, and
it.
people apparently be looking for
I'm
it.
kind of
So we had
sad.
the
Even though you definitely have referenced just in the last 10 minutes. You were like, and here goes Willow looking like Angel about to pop her head off.
Yep. I was just about to say that was our hereditary moment that we have been slacking on the last like 4 episodes. We haven't had them.
It's been too intense with the content of Buffy that we've
I
slipped.
know, right? Well, Buffy eventually cries herself to sleep on her bed, and then we enter into our final dream sequence that she's had, and it's a slow montage of their sex scene, which is nice because we get to actually see them. I mean, we don't get to see them hardcore. It's not like softcore porn or anything, but the fact that it just ended at the end of the last episode and then opened back up after the sex act was gone, you would be left thinking like we don't get to see them like, rolling around in the bed or doing any of these things. But here we actually get to see it. And I think it's tastefully done because we see like Angel's red silk sheets, tender love making vibes and all of that stuff. And fun fact, Joss Whedon and one of the other show writers, I can't remember her name, apparently that was Joss Whedon and her making the sex sounds that Buffy and Angel make, because Joss was too embarrassed to ask Sarah and David to make sexual noises with each other, because obviously they would have to go back and re-record it because they're not going to put a mic on them while they're like halfway nude and shit.
Yeah.
But either way, the sex scene is cut short, and Buffy then flashes in her dream over to the cemetery where a funeral is taking place, and she's standing at the grave where Angel appears in daylight. I about said deadlight. I was about to say Dead by Daylight, my favorite game. He appears in daylight to tell her, you have to know what to see, as she looks over at Jenny, unveiling her face, looking like Lydia Deetz from Beetlejuice, pulling up that black cloak like off her fucking head. And then Buffy wakes up the next morning from her dream with ultimate clarity. And this scene right here, too, I know I talked about the dream sequences last episode and kind of like summed it all up there. But it's interesting because a lot of people seem to think, and it's kind of canon, that this is Angel coming back to Buffy in her dream as Angel, not Angelus, to let her know like the missing puzzle piece to what she needs to know. Her prophetic nature kind of bringing it to the forefront to say that like Angel has this message for you is the last thing that he can do before he's just like out of sight, out of mind of yourself, like all of that. And then we open up to see Buffy on a fucking mission, fast-paced, marching into the school, straight into Jenny's classroom. And the music here is, like, built up. Like, it's hardcore. I like the way she's just, like, hardcore. Like, I say on a mission. Like, this bitch is fucking, like, her shins was hurting her by the time she got to that classroom door because she was walking so fucking fast. But not really, because she's the Slayer and her anatomy muscularly is fucking amazing. But she walks into the classroom where she finds Giles speaking to Jenny in front of the class full of students, him calling out to her. He's like greeting her. She's like, well, good morning, Buffy. And then Buffy just walks by him and grabs Jenny by the throat and fucking bends her backwards over her desk, holding her by the throat still, as Giles is like, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing? And Buffy just shouting, what do you know? And Jenny's face in this moment too, whenever she like from across the room, before she even made contact with her, Jenny's face, like, because she goes herself, hi, Buffy. And as soon as like, she noticed how intent Buffy is coming at her, her fucking facial expression changes immediately. And I don't think she knew she was about to get throated. She was about to be hereditary, about to have her head cut off by Buffy on the desk. But the students start freaking out, and Giles is like, you guys can all leave. We can deal with it. Because these motherfuckers start offering, like, we can get the principal, which we know is Snyder. And that's the last person we need to bring in this room, because that's all Buffy needs is for him to find out she out here choking teachers now. She ain't burning down shit. She over here fucking decapitating teachers. Assault and battery. And honestly, like I said, it's just intense because she comes in and grabs Jenny by the throat, and you almost feel like a supercharge when Buffy's on her way to that room, and like she goes in on fucking Jenny. But she does loosen up her grip pretty quick and asks Jenny if she did it, did she change him? Because she's thinking Jenny made this like happen. And Jenny's saying no, and she's like, did you know this was going to happen? And she's really not giving Jenny a chance to speak before she's asking all 17 of these questions. And Giles trying to tell her to calm down and how she can't just go around. But then Jenny cuts them off when she says, I didn't know exactly. Now having to tell them the truth, and it's not easy because she like starts to say it. She's like, oh, God, like, and she tells them what she was sent here to do, but was left blind to what would happen. Jenny claims if she had known, she would have told Buffy, which I like personally, that she's like, if I had had this information and known what was going to happen, I would have told you before it's too late, which you were saying that last episode, that Jenny should just come clean. And this gives Buffy clarity on the fact that it was her that did it. She's like, so it was me. I did this to him. And Giles is confused, but Jenny tells him the missing pieces of the curse's lore, him wondering how Buffy had a hand in this, and then Buffy just looking over at him. And the father in him having that, like, oh moment whenever he understands what this means. He's like, oh, y'all had sex.
He's like, y'all fucked.
And then they fucked. Jenny tries to offer anything that she can do to help, and Buffy just like immediately is like, curse him again. And she's like, I can't. Those magics are long lost. It can't be done. And I guess that kind of like clarifies why the lady couldn't just like, their elder woman couldn't just do it, because apparently those like rituals have been lost. So plot hole, loophole, all the things kind of brought to one full circle moment. And she's like, I can't help you with this. And Buffy ordering her to take her to someone that can. And then we get some cutscene transition magic as we flash over to Uncle Anyos's hotel as he's smoking that pipe, the weed that he got from Joyce. A good thing, too, because he was like, I need to be high for what's about to come next. And he voices, I knew she would bring you, supposing that she wants answers, because he is supposing that this is Jenny and Buffy entering the room. But no, we see it's Angelus, and he makes his presence known, and Anyos gets up horrified. I'm like, ugh. And the fun fact's a deleted scene that went on a little bit more than what we got to see, because we obviously clip at the end of this. But outside, it's raining again at the military base, and we see soldiers marching around as Oz's van pulls up next to its side of the gate. Xander telling them to wait here, and when they get the signal, help them get the package that they're stealing through the window. Him and Cordy leave and break in through the fence. And like, I thought it was so funny. I was like, if you were breaking into a military place, whether it's Sunnydale or not, they're going to have like people on your shit. Like, then things got pressurized sensors and all this other stuff. And he's out here with fucking bolt cutters, like clipping the fucking fence. I'm like, no. And then obviously a soldier does catch them, wondering, like, he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing outside of a secured area door? Xander spouting off clever military knowledge to get them out of it, saying that he's on leave from his group, and the soldier wondering, well, then why are you snooping around with this girl? Xander saying he's there for some hot, sexy loving, knowing the ladies like to look at the weapons, asking for some slack. And this whole scene, to me, is just fake, fake, fake. Because like I was just saying about the military breaking in and all that stuff, no matter what, even in Sunnydale, he would be in deep shit bringing a person on this base, whether this guy knows like whatever Xander said, like include this guy in and be like, oh, he knows his jargon. So he like obviously is part of the military. He's just back here in his civilian clothes, whatever. But just the fact that like he finds a person that works for the military, bringing a person that's not showing their identification, like you have to go through a whole check-in process when you go onto a military base. And that would have been the first thing that they would have done, was like being like, we're calling the sergeant over here. You guys are getting in trouble. And then they would have obviously found out a whole lot more information about these people, these two fucking 17-year-old kids breaking into the military life.
They're urbexing.
They're urbexing at Shaw Air Force Base. Either way, Xander does threaten him with the soldier not being in regulation. He's like, you know, dissing his fucking stance. He's like, you hold your gun like a sissy. And he like corrects his gun posture and shit. And like spouts out all that regulation shit to the guys, like his boots aren't in check, his like all this other stuff, whatever. And the guy's like, okay, well, since you just called me out, I'll give you 20 minutes of clearance for you guys to go in there and do your thing. And I love it too, because Xander, like, he's like, I just need 5. And then he's like, pretend I didn't say that last part. He's like, I'm gonna give you 20 minutes to go in here and do your thing. But like, Xander's talking about, I only need 5. Like, poor Cordelia. If it were in fact the case. Inside, though, him and Cordy discuss how on Halloween, when Xander turned into his costume, not only did he gain military knowledge, but it stuck with him, and he remembers a shit ton, having been automatically downloading all info of this town's base and everything in between. And Cordy is quite impressed, but wants to find what they were there for and get out. Curious if guns really want to make girls have sex also, because she's like pondering the perception with Xander. She's like, does that make you feel that way? And he's like, I'm 17, looking at anything that makes me want to have sex. I know he says linoleum, but like basically he's saying like, I could like breathe in 1 air of oxygen and I want to fuck. Like, you know what I mean?
He's like, when the wind blows.
Literally, when I blink, I want to have sex. Like all the things. What did you think about like, one, just this scene of them breaking in here? Like, did you have any idea of what they were there getting? And then 2,
No.
did you think it was cool that they brought this like whole thing from Halloween back to like kind of aid the team in some way and give
Yeah.
Xander like a
Well, I've been waiting for that because I remember you saying that, you know, this comes in kind of like handy later for Xander when he turned into the soldier. So it was a good callback to that Halloween episode for sure. And obviously it was very resourceful for them in this moment. Like you said, there was a lot wrong with the like realistic parts of what they were doing, where you're like, if you know anything about a military base, you're like, okay, number 1, you wouldn't be there because no. They would check you at the gate, and there's no like secret entry to a military base. Like a gate's a gate, and they might have 4 of them, but you got to go through them, and that's that. Like, I don't know. So yeah, you're always left questioning like why did they leave so many gaps for you to have questions for the realistic nature of what's unfolding. But again, it is a show. So whatever, they're urbexing. That's my excuse.
What did you call it? Like active urbexing? Is that what you said it was called whenever it's like a place that's not abandoned? Like you said it a few episodes ago.
There's some people that go into like active facilities and places like that. Yeah, like
Like when they're
infiltration style
closed.
and shit.
Well, that's what they did. But for a reason.
Literally.
Well, cool. Out in Oz's van, Willow is wishing that they would hurry up. Oz questioning if they steal weapons from the army a lot, which clues us in, obviously, they're getting a weapon. And I mean, like, my first time watching, too, I didn't even know what they were there to get. I knew they were there getting something. I figured maybe they were getting, like, dosing up on, like, grenades and a bunch of other shit or something like that to, like, full on go crazy on this motherfucker. Like, everybody team up with an M16 or some shit. And Willow offering that they have to make their own fun. She's like, we don't have cable. Which was funny because, like, it kind of mirrors, like, I think it was at the beginning of Reptile Boy, maybe, whenever they're just watching TV together and Willow's getting her hair braided by Buffy. And she's like, well, for fun, we could sneak our own tea bags into the bronze and ask for hot water. That type of shit. So she's telling this to Oz, and, like, Oz is like, okay, noted. I'm getting your joke here. Like, it is what it is. Because he gets it. And then out of nowhere, she's like, do you want to make out with me? And he, like, gets taken aback, and he expresses, like, no, I don't want to make out with you. And she's like, what? Like, she asked him a second time, and he's like, listen.
Sometimes when I'm sitting in class, I'm not thinking about class because that would never happen. I think about kissing you, and it's like everything stops. It's like freeze frame. Willow kissing you. Oh, I'm not gonna kiss you.
What? But freeze frame.
He denies her, urging that it seems to him that they'd be doing it to make Xander jealous or, like, even the score in some way. And he implies to her that seems to be on the empty side because in his fantasy, it's them kissing one another for that only, just for, like, the fact of, like I said, Willow kissage, freeze frame. And then she smiles, and him saying, it's okay, though, it can wait. And noticing that, the window has opened now and they need to get out to go help Xander. And, like, Willow's left there just, like, really happy over this. And I found in some of my research that Joss Whedon said that Oz was based on someone that he knew that was very laid back and cool and just wanted a character that was so cool that he sees how cool Willow is, even whenever she's, like, hidden in that big Eskimo outfit or, like, the ghost costume and all of that. But the audience apparently was not liking Oz so far leading up to this. Like, the people were very vocal about it and, like, the chat rooms and stuff. And they wanted Willow with Xander, apparently, because Willow is obviously so into Xander, especially with, like, what happens in this episode. And apparently he wrote this scene specifically because it makes Willow love Oz. And he said when Willow really falls for Oz, and that moment when he explains why he isn't going to kiss her and says that he can wait, and we see that Willow's face, like, is what it is. It's because Willow is falling for Oz, and if Willow falls for Oz, then the audience falls for Oz, and apparently it worked, because after this, everybody was, like, on board for Oz, because he seemed like a gentle, like, right reason. Obviously, Xander's been a piece of trash up to here when it comes to Willow, and now we see a guy that's fully going to be treating Willow right. So,
Yeah.
because that was what Willow was doing. She was going to, like, use that as, like, she's like, do you want to make out? Not only because I want to make out, but I also kind of want to be kissing and making out with somebody because I just found Xander's been doing that with somebody. So now I feel like I need to take a step up,
She wants to know what it's probably like to feel like, maybe a little bit of fun involved, maybe to her it was kind of like it doesn't have to be a serious thing, but it was refreshing that he kind of like pulled it back into that space and was like, no, I want this to be like more of a serious thing, and I don't want to just like waste this moment because of a different motive involved, so it's actually a really smart play on his character, because you are right, he was really chill and relaxed and almost like too aloof or whatever, like he wasn't very connected with every moment. He was just like there experiencing things but not showing any like emotional connection to what was happening. So I think they did good unveiling like a little bit of his more emotional side, which does help in the regard of us as an audience falling in love with him, because we didn't have that before. We didn't have like any way to sense what his emotional character was like, because he was just so kind of surface based, and getting to know him through that scene was really, really great, especially for Willow, because it's true, if she falls in love with him, then we do fall in love with him because we are so used to this ebb and flow of Xander infatuation, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like this episode for sure kind of is almost weird for that to have been taken place because I almost forgot that Willow was so obsessed with Xander until she found out about him and Cordelia. And then we're kind of reminded and almost annoyed because we're like, why is this still going on? You know, so for this to happen in that same episode and us fall for Oz coming from just earlier in the episode, that space of like, what the fuck is Willow really even doing? Like sweating about this, you know, with Xander. So yeah, that was actually super duper smart. And I just love Oz. I really do.
Me too.
And I just knew, I have known that his character, at least for Willow's sake, would be good as far as like pulling more out of her character for us to see because we haven't been able
Yeah.
to see her have a reciprocated like romantic experience yet, so it's exciting.
Yay. I love it. I never really wanted Willow and Xander to be together, so I was always like a Oz and Willow shipper. Whenever Oz first entered the screen and was like, "Who is that girl?" I was like, "Oh my god, that's your girlfriend one day." You know what I mean? Like, I just like I was here shipping them from the beginning, so I'm glad that you do too.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, over at Uncle Anyos's place, he wasn't too far off. Jenny is bringing Buffy there, but it's way too late as he's dead on the table, and blood is smeared everywhere. A message on the wall writing out, "Was it good for you too?" Which is fucking insane. Giles saying he is doing this deliberately, Buffy, and like he's trying to make it harder for you. And Buffy clarifies, no, he's only making it easier, and she knows what she has to do. And Giles is like, what? And her offering, kill him. In this scene, you were like, I want to see what happened with Uncle Anyos. I want to see more out the can you pan up over his body like the closets, like from the dead people in Ted? Like I need
They
to see
always
this.
do this to us. I'm done. Like, just show it to me.
That shit was funny. I was like, damn, Courtney, you be wanting to see some dead bodies. She's like, I just want to see what happened to him. I guess he like obviously
I
there's
just
blood
want to see
everywhere.
what kind of damage the angel can do, really. I'm
real.
like, y'all be talking up a big game, but not delivering any hard evidence. So, like, what am I to do?
He's just dead. In the factory, the judge is cloaked, coming up to Spike to say that he is ready. Finally, Spike is like, about damn time. Spike kissing Drew, telling her to have fun. Angel snarking at Spike, it's too bad that he can't come and how he'll be thinking of him. And you can already start to see this energy between Angel and Spike and how he's like taking Drusilla away. You know what I mean? Like in a way, because he's like leaving him behind. And Spike snarks back how he won't be in this wheelchair forever. Angel grabbing Drew to walk out. Spike yelling out, what happens if your girlfriend shows up? And Angel just replies, I'm gonna give her a kiss. As they walk out with a spiffy-looking judge, because Angel's like, well, don't you look spiffy? And the judge is just like, spiffy. He's like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, I've never heard that word. I'm like, from the 4th century. Like, I don't know. In Giles' office, Oz and Xander are showing Buffy what they got her. Another wooden box for her birthday, but you know, this one sans no arm. Giles prying it open for her to gaze inside, not showing the viewers what it is, and Jenny appears in the doorframe asking if there is anything that she can do, and Buffy just instructs her to get out without even turning around. And Jenny is persistent, and like Giles just turns his back to her because he was looking at her and stands by his Slayer's side to say, Buffy said get out. And I'm like, ooh, I always love that because that's him taking Buffy's side in this moment. He's also obviously like really, like I would say in a way upset the fact that Jenny's been keeping information from them. He feels lied to too. But obviously because this is all like directly affecting Buffy, he's like, no, I'm standing by her side. Whether this is something me and you can talk about later or another time, this is because of you in a way. We didn't have this information over Angel. And look where we are now. Like, you could have told us from jump, you were sitting here for this reason, but you actually like us. Or after you came to like the group, like we discussed last episode about Jenny, you could have been like, things are getting obviously intense and like her and Angel are growing closer together before Anyos even came and just like came clean about stuff and be like, I know this is going to put some problems on the table, but at the same time, I've already been in the bad boat with you guys anyways because of all the Igon shit. So like, you know, if I get shunned from the group, I was already shunning y'all anyways. Until I shot Giles in the back with a crossbow and all this stuff, like, you know, before they made amends and all that stuff. But which is very interesting that he takes Buffy's side. And she does leave. And Xander asks Buffy if he wants her to show her how to use this mystery item. And she's like, yes, I do. Showing the gang all arriving at the factory, but it's empty. And I like how Oz is here too. Like, Oz is hanging out with the gang. Like, they could have left him behind, but Oz is right here. So we're like, all right, he's part of the fucking Scoobies. and they're wondering where else they would go, showing Spike hiding out of sight behind some walls also. Buffy saying somewhere crowded is the move the judge needs bodies. Willow offering the bronze, but that's closed, so that's not an option. Cordy quoting, well, there's not a lot of choices in Sunny D. Not like people are going to line up to get massacred. And then obviously Oz is here with us. And this is great because he speaks up and he's like, well, if I was going to line up, I know where I would go. Then we flash over to the Sunnydale Mall, where we see for the second time this season, bustling with shoppers, unlike today because it's 1998 and that shit's packed. Nobody goes in the mall these days. I can't remember the last time I went to the damn mall. Angel and Drew with vamps come in at the top of a staircase with the judge, him automatically zapping an innocent man and burning him alive and into nothing, which is cool because he's like a few feet away from him and we see like a golden bolt of electricity come from the judge's hand. And that's how he, quote unquote, zaps people with just a look. Like he can send out the energy from his palm and then like it connects through everybody else in just a second. But he kills that one poor innocent man and we're like, damn, he didn't even get home to give his daughter his presents that he bought her or some shit. His wife's lingerie that he bought her. He's dead. Angel instructs his guys to guard the exits, looking to the judge, saying that this is all yours. As we see the elevator open and Buffy step out with the gang in a fucking iconic shot. And this is the shot that's at the end of the Buffy theme song for like the next few seasons or so. And we see Giles and Xander carrying the wooden box on their shoulders, looking like a funeral procession. Her giving orders.
Everybody keep back. Damage control only. Take out any lesser vamps if you can. I'll handle Smurf.
Which I thought was funny because like we see Buffy's getting a little bit of her snark back here. Like she's not as like broken down as she was a second ago because she's punning in a way. Because obviously, like, you know, the TV show The Smurfs and they're all little blue creatures. So she's calling the judge a fucking Smurf. The judge emits lightning like light again from his hands and the light passes into and starts to connect to everyone in the room, them halting. Like, I guess it like goes into freeze frame because as he's like doing that, it has to slowly connect to everybody else. And I guess it's feeding into the rooms that we can't see. And Drew is really pleased because she's like, oh, goody. Like, all these people are about to die. But damn it, it's cut short and unfinished as a crossbow bolt arrow lands in the judge's chest and he screams out, who dares? As he snaps it out of his chest. In the most amazing shot, we pan across the room over to the snack concessions bar, the gang standing around it, Xander opening up the box, panning up to Buffy on top of the bar's platform, wielding the crossbow, looking like a fucking badass, stating,
I think I got his attention.
and that eyebrow raise that Sarah Michelle Gellar does whenever she states that too, I was like, ooh, I'm so turned on for her. This bitch is everything. She is serving it. The judge calls out, fool, no weapon forged can stop me. And Buffy is aware of that and has great news.
That was then.
Reaching down to Xander to trade her crossbow and pull back up to her shoulder a fucking rocket launcher, old school style bazooka, finishing.
This is now.
Flipping on the switches as intense music builds up. Drew and Angel looking to one another quite alarmed. The music reaching its crescendo and falling silent just as the judge smirks and asks, what's that do? Buffy fires the rocket launcher and Angel and Drew jump flip off the ledge just as it meets the judge, exploding him in flames and chunks of his body sailing out in every direction possible. Badass fucking Buffy moment right here. Top 5 iconic moments for me specifically. But like, who the fuck does this? Like, this Slayer usually use stakes, crossbows, knives, swords, whatever, which we really haven't seen her go into the realm of battle axes and things like that yet. But she uses every other element. But she had the Xander had the idea, but she had the fucking audacity to take a damn rocket launcher up into the Sunnydale Mall after stealing it from the military base and shoot a big ass demon in front of everybody. Like, how do people not remember this blonde girl after this? I don't get it. Like, once again, the town just like whatever. But like,
they're not meant to.
Whenever I know, like, your face, like, I think you were just so drawn into the moment that you just didn't like. Because me, I always like, or like my eyes bulge out of my face when I see her pull up the rocket launcher. What did you think when it was revealed that it was a rocket launcher?
Well, it honestly took me a second, I think, until after it ended and you and I were talking about it to realize that that's what Xander stole from the fucking base. Because the whole time I was like, where did that come from? Like, why was Giles holding out the whole time on the rocket launcher? You know how many times we could have been dealt with a master? Just send it straight underground. I was just very confused.
There are no heat-seeking missiles for
But
vampires.
I was here for it. Like you, I'm all about having like that bad bitch moment and having your moment of, oh, you thought you were fucking with me, but you thought wrong.
Mhm.
Like, I love it and I'm here for it. And I was just honestly kind of ready to see Angel die. I was like, I hope that she somehow angles that thing perfectly to kill two birds with one fucking stone here, because she could have, and I wish she would have, because of course now we're still left with fucking Angel being a damn problem.
Yeah. I found a quote from Lisa Lilly on her forum that she does a blog about Buffy in every episode, and she quoted from this scene, "I love all of this because it so fits Buffy, who is not constrained by the old rules. She gets this rocket launcher that didn't exist when the judge was previously dismembered. She also points out that she loves that it's such an ensemble effort. Everybody together researched, and Xander had this idea of Cordelia helping and going to get it, and then Oz and Willow brought it back. Everybody took part in this like execution of the judge in a sense. And it wasn't just for this one time, the one girl in all the world. She had like her full team there backing her up, which was really cool."
Yeah.
Angel and Drew run off, and I love this too because Drusilla's flummoxed as fuck. She's freaking out. It's funny. I love to see her upset and in pain. But I love that moment. Me and my sister Tiffany, we used to rewind that and play it over and over and over again when Buffy killed the judge, just to watch Drusilla run off like freaking the fuck out because she's not happy with what just
Gotta have a
happened.
temper tantrum,
Basically having, yeah,
basically.
she's like a toddler having, that's where I wrote my notes. She runs off whimpering like a toddler. So I'm glad you arrived at the same thing, because that would have been the next thing I read out. Buffy tells Xander that that was the best present ever as smoke rolls up to the ceiling, and I didn't even think about that was what he got her for her birthday. It was a fucking rocket launcher. Willow asking if he's dead, Buffy instructing them to collect the pieces, which Cordy thinks sucks because she's like, our job sucks. And she also wants them to keep them separate so that way they have no chance of merging back together, which I don't think they will, because there are a bunch of pieces that are just like chunks of molten, like burnt, some damn charcoal from doing a barbecue. Buffy sees Angel running across the room and tailing off after him, and as the mall's sprinklers come on to extinguish the fire, her entering a back room getting drenched as Angel punches her from behind a corner, trying to taunt her.
You know what the worst part was, huh? Pretending that I loved you. If I'd known how easily you'd give it up, I wouldn't have even bothered.
She gets back to her feet, telling him that that's not going to work anymore. She gets Angel is gone and he's not him, and he retorts that she would like to think that, but all that matters is she made him the man that he is today. And she kicks him, initiating battle, to which he has the upper hand because he beats the fuck out of her there for a good fucking second. While we get a little clip scene of the gang picking up parts and Oz just standing there getting soaked, not helping, and he's just like,
Arm.
pointing out the damn judge's arm is dismembered again. It's the same damn arm. I'm like, Jesus, they better put that in a box and get it the fuck out of here. Angel is still kicking Buffy's ass, her attempting to battle him, but he keeps knocking her to the ground, taunting her further to ask she's not quitting on him already, is she? Egging her on that he's like, come on, Buffy, you know you want it. And it's a sexual innuendo, being like, you know, you want this fucking, like, this shit I gave you last night. And she gets fucking pissed off because she's reminded of their intimate moment. And she jumps up and gains the upper hand finally to kick his ass. And I love that part where she like goes in double time on him, and then she like pushes his head into the fucking glass cases there and then picks him back up through the top part of it, like basically double whammies him with the fucking glass. But when he looks at her, she stops and he laughs as she slowly lowers her stake that she pulled out. And he's just like, you can't do it. You can't kill me. And then she delivers a 2K per ball slay to his dick, hitting the 2K in the form of 2 balls, sending him to his knees in seething pain, walking away from him saying to herself,
Give me time.
obviously she couldn't kill Angel because she's not ready to yet. That was the sucky part. She's looking at him as he's there and he has the face of her lover. It's fun too because she kicks him in his fucking dick, like, which is obviously like the big thing that women do to men, like whenever they're really upset with them. It used to be a big thing back in the day, especially like 100% in the 90s. Like you can kick somebody in the nuts if they're trying to get to you. And that's the only thing that she could do. And I remember as soon as she did it, I looked over at you and I was like, how do you imagine a Slayer force kick feels to your nutsack? Like them nuts are probably up in your
That would be the
throat.
worst.
That's
I'm surprised that didn't kill him, honestly.
well, his nuts are now chilling by his thyroid. It's
He's for sure sterile.
yeah. But this is just sad for Buffy because she walks off and she's just like, I need time for this. obviously like having to
Mhm.
prepare for more to come. And then we clip over to seeing Giles driving Buffy home, and they arrive out front of her house. They sit and speak in the car, him telling her it's not over and how he will keep coming after her, and Buffy just stating back to him that he must be so disappointed in her. Without a second to ponder, he states, "No, I'm not." And then she starts to cry and expresses that this is all her fault. And he doesn't believe it is, though. And I'm going to put the quote in here because it's beautiful.
Do you want me to wag my finger at you and tell you that you acted rashly? You did, and I can. I know that you loved him, and he has proven more than once that he loved you. You couldn't have known what would happen. The coming months are going to be hard. I suspect on all of us, but if it's guilt you're looking for, Buffy, I'm not your man. All you will get from me is my support and my respect.
He tells her everything she needs to hear, and he's there for her and on her side, which is awesome because like he couldn't have done anything more for her but like make her feel secure in this moment. I love Giles for this. This helps, and she smiles through tears at him as we pan to later inside her home. An old black and white film playing in the living room as Joyce enters, asking if she missed anything, carrying tea and 2 cupcakes, one with a candle in it because she didn't have time to bake Buffy a real cake. Buffy says this is good, and Joyce still stands by her shopping trip on Saturday. She's like, "We're still going shopping on Saturday," and Buffy's like, "I don't want no fucking clothes." She's like, "I hope we're not going to the mall because it's currently closed for renovations." Asking Buffy what she did for her birthday, though, and if she had fun, and she just looks to her mom and says, "I got older." And Joyce tells her that she looks the same to her, striking a match to light Buffy's candle and tell her happy birthday, and hoping that she doesn't have to sing. I like that too. She's like,
I don't have to sing, do I?
she's too stoned for this. That edible's kicking in. I don't even know the words to happy birthday anymore. Urging Buffy to go on, make a wish, though. Buffy just looks at the candle, stating, "I think I'll just let it burn," knowing that her one wish would indefinitely not come true. Sinking her head over into her mom's chest as they cuddle on the couch and she pets Buffy's hair. The music on the TV cues back in as we fade to black, and here endeth the episode.
It was a sweet ending.
It is a really sweet ending. I love Joyce for this. It's like there for it. But it also was really fucked up for Buffy because like her birthday was just a shit show. These last 2 episodes have just
Totally.
been fuckery. And now we've got this bullshit to happen, like to deal with. Angel's acting, like I said earlier, is wonderfully done. It's just so, you even mentioned it. You were like, when we were watching it, you were like, compared to Angel, you were like praising Angelus' stuff. Like I'm remembering that because I wrote in my notes that you had said something while we watched the episode. You were like, damn, he's like completely different than what he was 5 seconds ago, which is cool to
100%.
take notice for. And then my favorite, as always, I had like a review from Shane Joel. Shane Joel's reviews commented that they could talk about David's acting as Angelus all day. He manages to change everything that was Angel in order to be Angelus. His facial expressions, his sentence structure, his movements, they're all different. Even more amazing is that he did it all this whole transformation instantly. It didn't take him a few episodes to get into the groove. From the very first scene, he was the embodiment of Angelus. In my opinion, and this is her still quoting, David's acting as in the first season was a little wooden, excuse the pun there. They said they couldn't resist. As the second season progressed around What's My Line Part 1, he started to become a good actor. After Innocence, he was brilliant, which I think is funny that she brought up What's My Line Part 1 because we were talking about Angel's acting whenever, Drusilla was pouring the stuff on him, and we were talking about that was David's first acting job and things like that. So this just like a full whammy moment for David to like kick it up a damn notch, which was fucking awesome. I love these episodes. I think I've explained that enough at this point. All right, great. Metaphor and themes for this episode. This season has largely revolved around sexual themes, particularly leading up to Buffy's decision to have sex with Angel. Spike and Drew symbolize Buffy's metaphorical id and ego, with Drew representing the id and Spike as the ego. In Freudian terms, the id drives desires, while the ego mediates those desires, and Buffy's desire for Angel has driven the narrative and emphasized the sexual undertones. Whenever we first got into like School Hard and stuff, I mentioned that I couldn't give any of the metaphor for that because it really deeply tied into all this, so there wasn't really a way to do it. But at the season's start, Drew was weak and subdued, mirroring Buffy's repressed longing for Angel. The ego's role is to fulfill the id's desires, and Spike's goal was to restore Drusilla, representing the id's resurgence achieved in What's My Line. When Spike is incapacitated, Buffy's sexuality becomes uncontrollable, as seen in Bad Eggs, where Joyce, her superego, criticizes her irresponsibility while Buffy gives into her hormonal urges with Angel, just as Xander and Cordelia are doing off on the sidelines as well. Buffy articulates her desires to Willow in surprise, revealing her intention to have sex with Angel, reflecting her internal struggle with desire, and Kendra serves as Buffy's virginal conscience, stammering around Xander and warning against Drew, the id, while emphasizing the danger of Angelus, the monster lurking beneath Angel's surface. Because everything that Kendra was like literally everything that Buffy should be doing, and what, you know, she was like always saying that. She's like, we should be going to stop Spike and Drusilla, not going to save Angel. And then she also talks about the whole time, like, Angel, I've read about him, he's a monster, trying to put this in our face and put it in Buffy's face, and Buffy was choosing to obviously not pay that attention. Buffy's desire leads her to lose herself in Angel, similarly to how Giles succumbed to Igon. This results in unleashing a monster, drawing parallels to Ted, where a seemingly human facade hides a killer. Ultimately, Buffy drains life from others to fulfill her own desires. In Innocence, the judge metaphorically disables Buffy's superego and separates the righteous from the wicked, allowing her id to take control. That's basically what the whole metaphor with her kicking him was. It weakens her in a state to put her metaphorical ego out of the picture for a second, so that way she's like succumbing to her temptations on sleeping with Angel finally. And this moment of happiness splits Angel's soul from Angelus, reinforcing the theme that giving into desire has dire consequences, and Joss intended Angel to be Buffy's tragic love, warning of the dangers of indulging her desires. The Xander-Cordelia relationship parallels Buffy's. Both are fraught with wrongness. Highlighted in Bad Eggs, Willow summarizes their relationship as against all laws of God and man, which reflects the Slayer-vampire dynamic as well, which is totally true because Buffy knows that, you know, that was our whole thing from the first episode. A Slayer shouldn't be in love with a vampire should not be in love with a Slayer. They're actually a juxtaposition across from each other. They're supposed to fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
Buffy's relationship with Angel, while romantic, diverts her from her destiny, as Dream Joy suggests she isn't ready. This theme of foreboding is central. Anticipation of relationships or their end fuels drama, while mundane relationships are uninteresting. We should always remember also at the end of I, Robot You, Jane, as Xander, Willow, and Buffy sit around the fountain saying, Buffy says, let's face it, none of us are ever going to have a happy, normal relationship. And Xander says, we're doomed, and Willow agrees. By the end, Buffy's emotions constrain her, especially when she can't confront Angelus. The repercussions of her choices are set to loom large in the story ahead. Fucking crazy.
Woo!
Like, I like how they tie all that in, though. This is like one of the most like funnest things. And I like how Joss apparently was afraid that, like, because it happens in all kinds of other shows and movies, when the people that you've been rooting for, just like Ross and Rachel, finally get together, you're going to get bored with their relationship really, really quick. So you got to find a way to juice it up, which is why Ross cheats on Rachel technically when they're on a break, and it's a big thing for the whole season. So they break them up so that way you're not bored with the characters anymore. You've got some more shit going on.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what
right.
he did with Buffy and Angel. He was like, well, I'm going to bring them together, but I'm also going to split them right back up as soon as they get together.
Oh, shit. Well, he literally did it right away, wasted no time.
At all. I do have another little mini thing to do before we get into Final Slays. I got a new book not that long ago that's called Why Buffy Matters by Rhonda Wilcox. And I told you whenever I was there with you that she has a whole section for surprise and innocence specifically in that book. And along that journey, she dedicates a 2-part section to those episodes. And she highlights a motif on water from Surprise and Innocence. And you can notice that there's a whole water theme going on around this episode. From the start, when Buffy reaches for a glass of water by her bedside, only to find Angel at the bronze, she's going to go get water, and water serves as a powerful symbol. Buffy is notably shedding tears constantly, while she gets thrown into the water by vampires, also prompting Angel to dive in after her, and later she tells Xander in the library, we got wet. As the plot unfolds, rain pours down when they flee the judge, and before heading to Angel's place to make love, Buffy and Angel escape from the judge's, like, you know, whenever they break the hole in the ground and come up through the tunnels, it's pouring rain outside before they make it to Angel's house. Also, at the end of the episode, Angel steps out into the rain, marking his transition into Angelus. Their climatic confrontation takes place in the rain, where fire is extinguished by an oncoming water system. Yet again, water is prevalent. This recurring watery imagery signifies sexual seduction, transitions, and transformation. Water is often linked to rebirth in various religions, symbolizing emotional depth, and in these episodes, it highlights the intense emotions at play. The water not only marks significant transitions like Angel's soul washing away in the rain, but it also frames the journey Buffy must undertake. When Buffy fights Angel in the pouring rain at the end, it operates on 2 levels: the physical battle that she faces and the emotional confrontation with Angel's death. earlier bluntly told her, your boyfriend is dead, and now she must grapple with the reality of fighting someone who looks like him but is no longer the same person. The water symbolism is encapsulating the essence of transformation, longing, and loss throughout these pivotal episodes. And I thought it was cool because I never really noticed that before when I was watching this any other time, that literally it's raining all the time in the episodes. Buffy's getting thrown in the water. Like, she's crying the whole episode. There's a flood, quote unquote, of emotions coming in. So I thought it was interesting that they used water as imagery, like as, something that we probably wouldn't pay attention to, but it's there.
That's true. Yeah.
Crazy. All right, BFF time. Here's your Buffy fun facts. Asked about his decision to turn Angel evil, Joss Whedon said that he felt it was necessary to keep the story fresh. Although the fan base wanted Buffy and Angel together romantically, Whedon said what people want is not what they need, which is leading into what I said earlier about his choice to do what he did. The multiplex set was in a closed Robinson's May department store on South Grand Avenue in Los Angeles, so they actually went to a mall for this set. That wasn't something they built. So apparently they had to evacuate everybody out and do this whole thing. Which if I would the people, I would have been like, I'm going to be extra on set. I'll stay in the mall. The deleted scene that I told you came with Angel and Anyos. Apparently, Anyos states, you evil one, and Angel says, evil one? Oh man, now I've got hurt feelings. And Anyos replies, what do you want? And Angel says, a whole lot. Got a lot of lost time to make up for. Say, I guess that's kind of your fault, isn't it? You gypsy types, you go and curse people, you really don't care who gets hurt. Of course, you did give me an escape clause, so I gotta thank you for that. And Anya says, you are an abomination. The day you stop suffering for your crimes, you are no longer worthy of a human soul. And Angel just says, well, that pesky little critter's all gone, so how about we get to business? Don't worry, it won't hurt a bit after the first hour. Which is fucking wild. I'm like, they should have just kept a little bit of that dialogue in, so that way we could have been like, oh shit, he about to get in for it. Like, he's going to torture him and do all this shit before Buffy gets there. All right, final slays.
Final slays.
Yeah, final slays. All right. What's your quote for the episode? We'll let you go first.
My quote is Willow, which is when she found out about Cordy and Xander, or when she saw them, I should say. And she said, I knew it, well, not in the sense of knowing, of having the slightest idea, but I knew that there was something I didn't know. And I was like, this is so like that thing we always do, which you actually did earlier when you were like, because you know that I know that they know that you know. It was so reminded me of that. And I just love Willow and all of her awkwardness, even when she's like trying to convey her most sincere and in this case disappointed emotions. There's just something about Willow and how she expresses that always just puts this kind of like not lighthearted spin on it, but it's just funny in a way where you're just like, what are you saying?
Yeah, that was one of my quotes too, because I really like it. Mine left out of that is Drusilla whenever she's like, I'm naming all the stars, and then Spike snarks at her and he's like, you can't see the stars, love, that's the ceiling, also it's day. Out of everything, like, that one always calls out to me and stuff. There's obviously way more quotes that I like, but if I had to choose just one from the episode, that one's it. And then for Shining Slayer, I gave it to Buffy because I felt like she deserves it after all the shitty birthday vibes and losing her boyfriend, all that she has to deal with, on top of reeling herself in to do her duty as Slayer and take out the judge and take on Angelus. I feel like it's almost wrong to not give it to her, but then I also gave a sub Shining Slayer to Giles with his ending speech that he gave to Buffy, because I just once again love his care for her and how he handles her upset and disregards her like self-blame that she's trying to put out there.
Yeah, that's so true. I wanted to give it to everyone collectively because, like you said, this was such a group effort, but the one that stands out to me the most is Xander, because I feel like had he not thought about the rocket launcher, had he not had the intel to be that resourceful to get access to get it in the first place, then who knows how the fuck we would have rid ourselves off of the judge, So it's just kind of like, without that very key info and that very much needed and vital weapon to have for that specific instance, and I firmly believe that's probably like the only weapon that would have probably completely annihilated the judge that quickly without us having to put like lots of effort and lots of like armies on this dude. So I feel like Xander kind of gets the Shining Slayer. If I have to choose one person and I can't give it to all of them, then
the
it's
ensemble
Xander for me.
We're gonna give it to them. I've just felt bad for Buffy, so I was like, Buffy, but But you're
You
not
gave her the
wrong.
sympathy slayer.
It's still the double S. What gave you the weekly wigs?
Oh my God, Angel and Jealous, I should say. He's just like a walking weekly wig. He's just a walking wig
He's a wig.
at this point. He really is. What about you?
For me, it's Angelus, but it's specifically when he reveals himself to the gang and he has Willow by the throat. It has given me like the scary weekly wigs because experiencing it and the scene like always just makes me nervous. Like I said earlier, like even though I know how it turns out, it always just makes me feel on edge when I'm watching it. Like you're feeling it with the first time with the group as you watch it, even if you've seen it 700 times. I'm just like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I think the wiggiest moment for me was when Buffy's in his apartment and she doesn't know. She's like very unsuspecting, obviously, of like what the fuck could be wrong with him because she hasn't seen him yet since they had sex. And for him to just so blatantly act like your very ordinary douchebag would, but also amplified, because it's Angelus and obviously he's like the king of being a fucking asshole apparently. So for me it was that specific moment and I just felt so sorry for Buffy too because that her heart's like truly on the line in this moment. They just had sex. It's so vulnerable. She's already like been in a panicked state all fucking day because she couldn't find him and then he comes in and he's like 110% dismissive as all get out and like to a point in which you're like, okay, well, you can dial it back like the slightest and still be dismissive and get your point across, but you're really like doubling down on being the worst person alive. So that for me was just like, I can't deal with how relative that feels like as a female and just knowing how those instances can go and having that kind of relation to it, but also just in general watching it play out and you just see the pain like appear on Buffy's face where she goes from like worried and anxious about him to like who the fuck is standing in front of me and I'm now processing all of this. It was just like you couldn't feel worse for her and you could also not feel more disgusted with Angel.
Yeah, honestly, he takes the cake as weekly wigs. Like Angelus is the right choice. I'm glad we both had honestly we just went into like 5 more other reasons why he was giving us the wigs, so I love that.
Literally.
All right, Slayer at predictions. Angel's evil now. We still have 8 more episodes of season 2 left to go. What do you think is on the horizon for us with this major switch up? It's your biggest prediction so far.
That's so hard to say. So obviously we're not done with Angel, so I assume he's going to be causing more problems. And I think my greatest concern and question, so it's not really as much of a prediction, but it's something that I can foresee potentially happening, is like we've addressed before, him having this pattern and this nature to be so extremely destructive, especially to the one person that made him feel anything, So I think that obviously, like, Buffy's got a huge target on her back as far as Angel is concerned. And if it's Angel that's concerned, then that also obviously means Drusilla and Spike and God knows whatever else is lurking around the corner. So yeah, my prediction is not good times ahead.
All right. The next episode is called Phases.
Hmm.
I'm going to let you guess before I give you your breadcrumb.
I want to like believe that might mean that there's hope for Angel to like phase out of being a terrible person. So that's my hopeful prediction. If that's not the case, then maybe it means that like if we're talking about emotional phases anyway, then maybe we're going to see Buffy have a different phase of emotions toward what's happening. And maybe she'll want to, decapitate Angel hereditary style.
There you go.
With some dental floss.
We catching up on all the hereditary not so much gains. So in this one, we don't drop it every 2 seconds.
Now it's on stage.
As usual, I'll give you a little breadcrumb and tell you that in a way, it's a little bit of an Oz and Willow-centric episode.
Ooh. Oh, no. Okay, well, something's wrong with Oz.
I guess we'll see.
That's all I got because that's instantly what came into my mind is something is up with Oz, which I've already felt from the beginning. So that kind of excites me.
True.
Hopefully there's
Possibly,
nice.
but I'm not giving anything away. I'm just saying, like, who knows? You'll see because you get to watch it soon. We'll be back next week to discuss it.
Yes.
All right, great. As always, thanks so much for everyone listening to our coverage of Innocence. I hope you guys enjoyed it and will enjoy everything else that is to come for the back half of season 2. Be sure to check out our social media for some clips of Courtney's live reactions to both Surprise and Innocence. And we, of course, will catch you all back here next week for the next episode. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Best present ever.
You'd like it.
Do you think he's dead?
I can't be sure. Pick up the pieces and keep them separate. Pieces? Forget the pieces. Our job sucks.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatchpodcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And if you happen to love abandoned places but prefer them vampire-free, check out Echoes of Elsewhere, an urban exploration podcast, where I interview urban explorers about the eerie spaces they uncover, anything from haunted schools, forgotten mansions, and tunnels that probably don't lead to the Hellmouth. From history to mysteries, tips and tricks of the trade, I dive into all things Urbex. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed. This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.